Thanks for joining us on the program, everyone. Tonight on Beyond the Headlines, we're staying on the gale of defections that's reshaping Nigeria's political map. From Enugu to Bayelsa, governors are crossing over. The PDP appears to be bleeding, and the APC seems to be gathering new converts by the day. And it's happening just weeks before the opposition's crucial convention in November, which, by the way, is being contended in the court. But why are they all trooping to the APC? Is this about conviction, convenience, or simple political survival? My guest tonight has never been afraid to speak his mind. A businessman, media executive, and former senator representing Bayelsa East. He also recently moved to the APC. You know him for his trademark candor and his old TV sign of "I am Ben Moribros, and I just want to make common sense." Well, tonight, we want to make political sense. Senator Moribros, welcome to Beyond the Headlines.
Thank you very much. How you doing?
Great. You said this defection isn't about politics, but progress. What exactly would you say tipped the scale for you, and why now?
Well, first of all, I've known President Tinubu before he became Governor Tinubu. He's been my friend for many, many years. Before he ran for president, I had a conversation with him. And I asked him specifically what he would do as president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I also asked him, I said, Mr. President, you're going to have 42 ministers or 36 ministers of state. How are you going to run the economy of the country with 42 people you don't even know? He said to me, and I quote, "I only need 8 people to run Nigeria. It'll be my dream team." Those are my words, not his. My dream team. And he chose the right people. And these people he have chosen, brilliant, intelligent, have made a difference to the economy. He also shocked me on his first day in office when he said he would deregulate and float the currency. Those 2 measures have made a big difference to our economy. When he took over, we were owing, it was about 97% of our earnings was spent on debt service. Now it's about 60%. I don't have the right figure. Inflation has come down. The Naira has stabilized. So I think he's done an incredible job. So I challenged him on these issues. And on every point that I raised, he gave me an answer. 2 years later, he did exactly what he said he would do 2.5 years ago. So me supporting President Bola Tinubu is a promise he made to me. I have great admiration for him. He's done exactly what he said to me in a private conversation that I had with him. And therefore, I'd be crazy not to support him since he kept his word on every single thing he said he would do. So that's the reason I'm supporting President Tinubu and the All Progressive Congress.
Senator, it sounds more like a personal chemistry rather than ideological alignment. Also, you're joining a ruling party at a time of national hardship because how incredible Mr. President has been a subject of debate, especially when you ask the average Nigerian. How do you reconcile that with your message of common sense politics?
Come on, if you're sick, you go to the doctor, right? You do surgery. You have to recover. Then you get better. Even if you're an athlete, you break your leg. Sometimes you don't play for a whole year. When you come back, you're a better player. Now, if you say the economy was such a horrible state and we just got through surgery and now we're waiting for recovery, it'd be ridiculous to think that after the catastrophe of the previous 8 years, anybody could fix the economy in 5 minutes. It's not going to happen. It's going to take a while. And I think the problem is we need to explain this to the Nigerian public. This has to be explained. I don't think it has been explained enough. And that is really what the folks in information ought to do, to explain that this hardship is going to come to an end. It always comes to an end.
A lot of explaining has been done, really, because this narrative isn't strange. But the reality is that many Nigerians are hurting under the same reforms that you're praising the president for. Full subsidy removal, forex unification, rising inflation. From your vantage point, I think the big question is how soon before these pains translate into real progress, and whether or not you're confident that this administration can sustain that reform and that momentum beyond politics. Because as we speak right now, it's all eyes on 2027, and they've done more than 2 years.
Well, I think the policies are irreversible. I think great progress will be made in the next 2 years. And I think in 8 years, Nigeria will be fixed completely. It's just going to take time. There's no other way. It's going to take some time. The only
Are
thing
you
I would
saying that
add,
4 years is not enough to fix our problem, at least the
no, it's not
economic
enough.
problem, in such a way that the average Nigerian can feel it?
Well, first of all, you got to get the economic indicators in the right direction. And they're in the right direction. Inflation is coming down. Your currency is stable, so you can predict what you spend and how you import or export, because with that stability, and then you have to create a destination for foreign investors, and you have to create security. Look, he's made the right appointments, but there's no way you can transform a nation of 250 million people with the chaos he inherited and turn it around in 2 years. It is impossible. But if you try, you may succeed. If you don't try, you will never succeed. That is my philosophy. That is his philosophy. And I truly believe we are on the right track. Foreign investors will come in. Take the National Security Advisor. It was chaos with Boko Haram. Now there's a sense of containment. The National Security Advisor has done a great job with containment. The military has done a great job there. It'll take a while. The incidents of kidnapping and all that kind of stuff that was so pervasive in the past has slowed down significantly. Inflation has come down significantly. The currency is stable. You heard it before, you're hearing it from me. I'm telling you, this administration is on the right track. Infrastructural development is moving fast. For instance, the Calabar Coastal Road, that'll take a while. So, in building that road, there'll be some traffic jam. But once the road is complete, you can go to Calabar in 5 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours. Then there's going to be a rail system. Then the roads from Maiduguri. So these are things that take time. I'm supporting him, one, because he made a promise to me. He's kept his promise. I've known him for a long time. He did a great job as governor of Lagos State, turned into the fifth largest economy in Africa. That is no coincidence. Now he's doing the same for Nigeria. I believe in what he does. I believe in what he says, and I'm supremely confident. I'm supremely confident that we will overcome these difficulties we are faced with. And
All
first of
right.
all,
I hear
the
you
people.
clearly. And Mr. President also ran on the mantra of renewed hope. It's just that it gets to a point where you have to be able to convince Nigerians who are saying they haven't seen that body language even from government itself to cut costs, and then to also live the kind of life that they are living right now, to show that they understand. But let's talk about you for a minute, because some see this move as a political comeback strategy and not conviction. What do you say to those who believe Ben Bruce simply went where the power is?
It's never been like that. I got a reputation. I've never done that in my life. So why am I going to do that now? I'm 69. Why am I going to, people say they're going to the center. Center to do what? If you're a local government chairman, what's the difference between, why don't you run your budget as local government chairman, a governor, or a senator, or make laws? People say that all the time. I have no time to respond to silly people like that. I am who I am. When I decided to move to the APC, I told no one. I didn't consult anybody. That's why it never leaked. I never
But if
told
it's
anybody I was
about
moving to APC.
if it's about reform and vision, couldn't you have championed the same ideals from within the PDP, especially as one of its most articulate voices?
First of all, you need political power to make those reforms. When I was in opposition against Buhari, I raised all these issues. I refused to approve any loan Buhari took as president. I voted against every single time they asked us to give him money, because I knew the government at the time did not have the capacity to use the money judiciously, or do it in such a way that they could service the debt. They didn't have the capacity. So why would I vote for any government that didn't have the capacity to do that? If I was a senator today and they brought a loan request from Mr. President, I would approve it. I would vote for it because he has the capacity, because he's a smart businessman. You need a businessman to run an economy. Look at Nigeria as a company. Look at Nigeria as the Fortune 500 company. The quality you need to run a country like Nigeria is the same quality you need to run Boeing or Airbus or any big, or Tesla and all these big companies. If you are not qualified as an individual to run a Fortune 500 company that makes $500 billion a year, $750 billion a year, you're not qualified to run Nigeria. You have to understand. So is Bola Tinubu qualified to run a Fortune 500 company? Yes. Is he qualified to run a complex economy like Nigeria? Yes. And if he can run a Fortune 500 company, then he can run Nigeria. If he can run Lagos, he can run Nigeria. Many people have run Lagos, but very few people have done it the way he did. I have faith in him. I support him. And I make the distinction. I support President Bola Tinubu. Him. Now, there's some people I don't support, but him, I support.
It sounds like if President Tinubu leaves the APC today, you are going to leave as well.
Well, I'm going to have a conversation with him. Hopefully he doesn't leave. So if we leave together because he's a genius.
We'll come back to talk about political ideology and what this means for politicians like you. Stay with us, everyone. Don't go away. Senator Ben Morris, one of the newest members of the ruling All Progressives Congress, thank you so much for staying the course on the program this evening. Your former party, which I believe you were a member of just days ago, has lost 2 governors in 24 hours. It now only controls 7 states. You were one of PDP's most eloquent reform voices. Did the party refuse to reform, or did you lose faith in its ability to bounce back?
I don't think my movement to APC has anything to do with what happened in hold on a sec. Somebody.
All right, we have to hold it and wait for the senator.
I'm here. I don't think it has anything to do with the People's Democratic Party. My conviction on my movement has more to do with the success of President Bola Tinubu, the dream team he has around him, the success he had with the CBN, for instance, Yemi Cardoso, what he has done, the National Security Advisor, what he has done, Umahi in Works, what he has done, and so on. I think he put together a great team, and they can fix Nigeria. So it's not about whether I dislike PDP or AD or whoever it is. I like what I'm seeing. I see the future. I'm available if they need my help, but I'm not in office. I'm not a senator. I've not been a senator for 8 years. So I'm not running for office.
But you're not saying that it's a coincidence that you left at the same time the Bayelsa State governor also left the party?
Bayelsa State governor is a very, very, very dear friend of mine. He's leaving for maybe different reasons, but you're interviewing me, not him. You're asking me why I'm leaving. When you speak with him, ask him why he's leaving. But he's a great guy. Bayelsa, I'm sure, and him, they have a great reason why they're leaving. You're asking me, and I'm telling you why I'm leaving. Everybody has a different reason why they leave office or why they join different.
It's looking like you moved the same day or around the same time that the governor also announced his resignation from the PDP. But let us talk about Bayelsa politics for a bit, because unlike Delta, where the entire PDP structure collapsed into the APC, we are hearing that former governor Seriake Dickson saying that he's very much with the PDP, even going ahead to criticize the movement, the mass movement into the APC, calling it a danger for our democracy. What do you make of that, and how do you see it impact on politics in your state?
First of all, you started this interview by talking about a one-party state, and you're talking of democracy. Now, Dickson is promoting democracy by staying in PDP and criticizing the movement of his friends from PDP to APC. It's democracy. He has a right to stay in PDP. He doesn't have to move to APC. If he's happy with PDP, stay with PDP. If he has a right to be in opposition, he has a right to his voice. And I think I should commend him for what he's doing. I got no quarrel with anybody living in any world they choose to, any political party they choose to. He's a great guy. He's a great friend of mine. And just because I'm in APC and he's in PDP, he's not going to stop our friendship. And sometimes when I go visit him, the debate might be very exciting. So I think he has a right to do it, and he should continue to stay in PDP and fight for what he believes in the People's Democratic Party.
The PDP had about 11 states in 2023. That number has now come down to 7. Would you still like to see your former party survive, or you think this is the beginning of what many call a one-party state? Because we're also hearing that more governors would follow in the coming days?
I have no interest in political parties. I have only interest in the ideology of what they represent and the people who lead these institutions. I have no interest. A political party is a gathering of like minds. And if I disagree with those like minds, then I go to where I can see or talk to people who I can relate with. I like free enterprise. I like smart, intelligent people. I'm surrounded by people who are not so smart. What am I going to do with them? If I can be with very smart, intelligent people and I can have a conversation, and I think I'm in the 22nd century. Look, we're in the Senate, as an example. We're on the floor of the Senate. You meet people on the floor of the Senate who think they're in the 16th century. You meet people from the 17th century. You meet people from the 21st century. You meet people from the 22nd century. You have to coexist. But sometimes I have no patience in being with people from the 14th century. They drive me crazy.
I hear you
If
clearly.
I talk about electric cars and the future, and they're talking about the past, what am I? A leader talks about the future, not the past. I'm surrounded by a lot of people who think about yesterday. What does yesterday got to do with politics? What does yesterday got to do with leadership? It drives me crazy. I go insane. You call a meeting, at 6 o'clock. The man conveying the meeting in politics shows up at 10 o'clock at night. Then he wants to have a conversation until 4 in the morning. Then he expects you to be on the floor of the Senate at 10 the next day. And I said, what is wrong with this human being? This guy should be arrested and locked up for calling the meeting at 6 and showing up at 10. I have no patience for people like that. If you call a meeting at 6, you show up at 6. If it's for 2 hours, it ends in 2 hours. Having a long meeting and drinking pepper soup, all that kind of stuff irritates me. So as long as you're smart and intelligent, you've got my vote and my support. If you're going to sit down and talk about yesterday and what happened in the Second World War, you're going to lose me unless I'm in a history class.
But how do you draw the line then between the strength of this personality and the structure and systems of our parties? Because what it looks like is that our democracy seems powered more by defections than ideologies. Doesn't that lead to the political values that you once stood for?
All that, look, I think everybody misses the point. You're focusing on defection. You're not focusing on where Nigeria needs to lead to. I don't care if you defect. I don't care. You can come to me, you can stay away from me. Do we share the same ideology? Do we want Nigeria to be a great nation? Do we want Nigeria to be safe? If you go and see the NSA, Nuhu Ribadu, he doesn't take nonsense from anybody. If you're talking to him, stay focused, get to the point, talk about security, and focus on securing Nigeria. If you don't, he'll probably shoot you himself. If you go to see the CBN governor, stay focused. You're not going to see a bunch of people lying around him wasting his time. He wants a stable currency. He wants to fix the economy. I admire people like that. If you go see the president, he has a library behind him. He reads. He wants to know how he can fix Nigeria to be a 21st century economy. I gravitate towards people with supreme intelligence, people with a conscience, and people who care about their country. I have no interest in people who have meetings for the sake of meetings, politics for the sake of politics, having conversations going nowhere and wasting my time.
Senator, I hear
look
you.
Where you are today.
I understand you.
You are in Eco Atlantic. You are in Eco Atlantic. That property there, the Miami of Africa, if you knew the headache Governor Tinubu went through to get that place done, you'd be amazed how difficult it was to get the federal government to cede the Atlantic Ocean to Lagos State, and I was involved in the process. And at the time, I was frustrated. I said, why would anybody see such development and say no to Lagos State because you come from two separate political parties? I don't play politics like that. Dixon, my friend, has a right to be in PDP. Governor Diri has a right to go to APC. And President Tinubu has the prerogative to decide who he likes or doesn't like and who he wants. But he has an obligation to lead us to the promised land.
I hear you clearly. I understand you, and I respect your opinion. I'm just trying to say that our democracy is built on politics, right? Just a minute, Senator. And the fact that there's a big challenge with the ideology of our political parties. It's easy for politicians to move. Wake up this morning, they're with the APC. By evening, they're with the PDP. And they say it's because our political parties are not defined along ideologic lines. I'll give an example, for instance. You have spoken glowingly about President Tinubu. You have a relationship with Atiku Abubakar, and I believe with former President Goodluck Jonathan. We're hearing the possibility of former President Goodluck Jonathan being on the ballot in 2027. If the three of them are there together, are you going to be deciding along the line of the individual you like most or the ideology of the party upon which they're running?
Look, I've been in PDP from inception. I've moved to APC. Now, in my life and career, I'm not known as a prostitute, am I? I am here with Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He is the candidate. He's going to run. He's going to win in a landslide, and he's going to lead us to the promised land. All these other people are my personal friends, great friends of mine. But right now, I am voting and supporting President Bola Tinubu. That doesn't mean I don't like the other guys. That doesn't mean they're not my friend. That doesn't mean I'm going to have dinner with them tomorrow morning. And you're a troublesome guy, but I like you. All right, so
I like you too. Thank you so much for coming. That's our show.